Okay, gang, for these last two pages, I'm just gonna go over my answer key versus solve it. These are not horrific examples. So for number 5, I wanted you to find the derivative using the quick methods. By the quick methods, we're talking about things like the power rule. So the power rule, right, if you have x to the n, that's nx n minus 1, right? You bring the exponent down in front and you subtract 1 from the exponent. So for instance here, if you have 4, you bring 4 down in front, you multiply it times the 3, it's 12, and then you subtract 1 from the 4 to make a 3. That's the power rule. You do the same thing here. You bring the 2 down in front, you multiply it by the 5 to make 10, and then you subtract 1. You don't need to put a 1 there. And then the derivative of a constant, you guys remember this, the derivative of a constant is 0, so that's why that piece went away. So that's the answer to that one. I mentioned in lecture that if you have your variables in the denominator, you have to bring it up to the numerator. So for part B, this one was harder to do. The first step was to rewrite. So the square root of x comes up as x to the negative 1/2. The x cubed comes up as x to the negative 3. So the first step, if it's the variables in the denominator, you have to bring it up to the numerator. The power rule only works from the numerator, or from like just your, not fractions, not when the variable's down in the denominator. All right, and now here is where I took the derivative in the next step. So the 1/2 comes down in front. The 1/2 negative 1/2 multiplies times the 2, which is what makes a negative 1. And then if you subtract 1 from negative 1/2, so negative 1/2 minus 1, that's negative 3/2. So that's how you got this. And then at the very end, the negative exponent, I just flipped it down. Some of you even simplified that, which was really nice. I saw that. Some of you did that. All right, then for the next one, power rule, you bring the negative 3 down in front, you multiply it times the 5, that's negative 15. You subtract 1 from the negative 3, that's negative 4. And then when you rewrite it, you flip it down. And then I went over and lectured the derivatives of the 6 trig functions. I told you the derivative of sine of x is cosine of x, right? I went over the derivatives. Derivative of cosine is negative sine, and I went over those 6. Oh, hold on a second here. I did write it. Okay, so derivative of sine of x is cosine of x. And so that was the final answer for that. Some of you wrote it like this, which is fine. That's fine as well. Okay, so that was the answer to number 5, predominantly using the power rule and knowing that if the variable's in the denominator, you had to rewrite it first by bringing the variable up, then taking the derivative. Okay, gang, that's it on number 5. I hope that helped.